Tell you a little funny story. So I was Christmas. I took my family down to Disney World, and when we got back, I had 2 large boxes in my office, and I was like, "What presents are these?" I was like, "Someone send me something for Christmas?" I was so excited, and I opened up the boxes, and there are these binders. So you guys have been living with me since Christmas. I've seen every one of your faces, all the profile sheets. So I've been thinking about you from now until today. And it's been an awesome 2 days. As a first-time judge, this, for me, has been absolutely fantastic. So thank all of you. So what I want to do is give you kind of a brief rundown of kind of my thoughts, what I saw with every one of your packages, and also kind of go through some kind of high-level things that you guys can work on for your next presentation. So let's start off with building design and architecture. So this is actually the North Creek community map. So I pulled this up because this community, you can see lot 12 right over there in the corner. That's where this house was. Some of you guys had it right or wrong on the plot plan. You kind of missed it by a lot or two, but that was lot 12. One thing I want to talk about, the most important decision as a contractor you're going to make is how you set the house up. There's no way to move a house back 6 inches after you build it, all right? So taking this into consideration, when you're doing your site plans, identify the center of the cul-de-sac, the center of a bubble, right? The center of a turn, and center the house on that. A lot of you guys ran it parallel to the property line. You ran it, you kind of snaked it in. You got confused with the overhangs and the foundation corners. So you kind of had a little twist or curve in the driveway. Set it up like this. And actually, when you actually lay the house out, it actually lays out right on top of that, okay? So be critical of their plot plan because you only get to do it right once, okay? So this is where you really want to spend a lot of time and effort because this is really what makes the community a community. A house that's pushed too far back or a house that's improperly set really detracts from everything. Second thing I want to talk about is Chapter 3. In code, in your building code book, Chapter 3 is required reading. For any of the drafters that work for me or work at True Homes, this is required. You cannot do your job without Chapter 3, okay? And as anytime you're building, you're drawing, or you're doing anything with the home, this is where you need to look. Because the expert that comes to your site, as we discovered in Berkeley 8 times, that expert, that building inspector is the expert of this book. And he will call you out on everything. So you need to be the expert as well. It doesn't matter if you're building it, drawing it, or whatever. This is something you need to make sure that you're aware of. Also, we are in a seismic design category. This is one of the few on the Eastern Seaboard that you have to account for. If you were to look at your tables, R301.2, this is a great, if you could put this on every one of your plans, start with this design summary. This will lead you to all of the right answers throughout the rest of it. This will help you in all those decisions, those critical decisions that you made throughout the plan. We're also in a special wind region. I hope I'm not stepping on something. We're also in a special wind region, right? That little arrow is about where we are. Sometimes these maps are hard to read. But understand that you have to, one, account for that in your engineering design, and also windboard debris panels are required once you get above 140. Okay? Also want to talk about footer depth. A lot of us had challenges in that, understanding what the site and soil conditions were. We're really in about a 5-inch frost line. You can see that map. Now, unfortunately, the code book doesn't offer a really great map for this. So a lot of times we have to go to other resources. But a 12-inch footer, a 12-inch deep footer is really all we need. That's our frost line. That's where our design frost line is going to be. Below that, you're solving for other issues. And that really isn't represented in typical slab-on-grade construction. So some of the soil requirements and soil conditions you guys saw, you overdid it on a lot of those. All right, Nobody provided roof vent calculations. This breaks my heart. This is one of those things where we don't do enough of in the industry. We have to provide roof vent calculations and show where the venting goes. What are you doing? How are you venting it? Ridge vent, soffit vent, and do you have enough, and how do you show it on the drawings? This is a big one. This is something that when you close the house and you get to a point with the homeowner a year later, it's probably not a big deal, but when you really build homes for people you care about, this is stuff that happens 30 and 40 years down the road, and you've got issues. You got all sorts of problems when you don't properly vent an attic. All right, mono slab foundation, mono pour. This is a little bit of an extreme example. This is one I picked up from a little bit north of Virginia. But it's a single pour. Doesn't need to be more complicated than that. Two-part pours are not necessary. Mono slab is cast in place. We don't really have to do anything more fancy than that. Soil in South Carolina actually drains very well. Gravel and any substrates that you need underneath that, you really don't have to go do. You typically can get away with just placing your concrete right on the grade with a nice vapor barrier. All right, utilize pre-cuts. This is something I think we talked about in most everybody's group. Pre-cut studs are your friend. They save the framer so much time and effort. Sending 10-footers out and having them cut each one of the wall studs just doesn't work, okay? If you're going to use pre-cuts, keep them in studs. Use nominals for your headers, your plates, everything else. This keeps the framer organized, honestly. He can pull from the stack on the site. He knows those are walls, and he's pulling from the stack over here for plates and headers. So it's much, much easier that way. So I wasn't the only person that was lucky enough to review all these binders. Matt Fryer, he was unfortunately not able to make it today. He's actually operations overestimating. He spent a lot of time reviewing and critiquing all of your individual estimates. So here's some words that I'd like to share from Matt that we saw. One, cost versus retail. For consistency, the exercise should have only included the sticks and bricks. However, other fee items were added that skewed the final cost. Okay? As example, several teams added retails to lot cost. Typically, those are just pass-throughs. Also, added retail margin fees to builder's profit and super fees and some other stuff that just was kind of overkill, right? Really give us a sticks and bricks so we can compare to really what the hard costs of the material are. Provide alternates below the line. If you guys, I love, so the Montcrest, right? We built this house, I think we built this house 120 times last year. We made over 40 revisions, we call them plan changes. We made 40 plan changes, master changes, design changes to the home throughout the year because of great feedback we had from our clients, from our builders, from the community. Hey, this bathroom would be really great in here. We love that stuff. And I love that stuff from you guys. I want to hear that feedback. But don't substitute that out and deviate from the original problem. Solve the problem and give me the alternates after that. Some of you guys had great VE options in the plans. Well, solve for the base first, and then tell me how much better we can do. I'm all about self-improvement. I'd love it to find out a better way to do what we need to do, okay? So keep alternates below the line, separate them out, solve the problem first. High labor numbers. Many of the material costs and figures were very accurate. He did notice that the labor costs from the cost estimate were most cases extremely high. So we had a few examples here. Site costs and foundation labor fees were grossly over budget. For scraping a lot, $10K to scrape a lot, that's just extremely high, especially when a lot is cleared and you really only have a little bit of vegetation on top. I mean, it's a half a day for a guy in a Bobcat. That's not 10 grand, right? One estimate had house wrap, labor for house wrap being a few thousand instead of a few hundred. Could have been a misplaced decimal point. But it's very important that once you complete your estimate, have a team member go back and double check it. Really, we said we've used the term a few times this week, or these last few days, on smell check, sniff check, right? If something costs tens of thousands of dollars to do, does that seem right? Is it as much labor into do that as you think, right? So you'll get better with that as you grow. Almost nobody had a variance budget. What happens if something goes wrong? What happens if your material estimate's off? What happens? You got to build this in, right? It could be 1%, 2%, 3% of the job, but you got to build in that material variance budget. This is just a fact of life. This is construction. Okay? Common issues. A lot of these you heard already. I'm not going to read them all, but there were just some few things. Stretch board. Dean was all over everybody about stretch board, right? Drywall. 12-foot sheets, not 8-foot sheets, right? Understand how to optimize the material that you're delivering on site, and it'll lead to lower labor costs, higher efficiency home, and it's overall just better for everybody. Okay, overview. This is where we were. We actually built this house, started on 2/15. We ended on 6/11. Took us 82 days to build this house. Our schedule is 65 work days. That is our optimum trajectory. Things happen, right? Inspector didn't show up. There's 2 callbacks. We get rolled to the next day. Things happen. But this is how aggressive we want to make sure we push everything. Also, budget was $197. We sold the house for almost $300. Okay? Some of you guys had budgets that were like $325. That hurt my heart. Should have been a little closer. All right? But I mean, all in all, I cannot tell you how impressed I was with each one of your teams. Your ability to do things in a program that, quite frankly, I went through, and I couldn't do half of what you guys came out doing. It was amazing. You guys are uniquely exceptional in this industry, and I'm very excited for the future. Overall, very impressed with the takeoff abilities and cost structures by numerous teams. It wasn't just a few. Everybody had a great take on this. And Matt put in here, I quickly realized the skill sets demonstrated by the teams would far exceed my expectations in terms of accuracy for the information. I mean, you guys blew us away. This was a great experience for us, and I think maybe we got a little bit more out of it than you guys did, just for how humbling it is in the industry. All right, so that's the end of my slide. I'm going to toss it over to Amy. But as she's kind of coming up here, does anybody have any quick questions before she kind of makes her way over here? Yes, sir. I just need to know how you vent it. If you're going to do gable vents, you're going to do soffit vents, you're going to do ridge vents, you're going to do pot vents, turtlebacks, whatever you're doing, I need to know how you're venting it and what your ratios are. The code allows 50-50, 80-20. But I really need to know how you're venting that attic. It's a table. It's a calculation. I need 40 linear feet of ridge vent. I need 80 linear feet of soffit vent. That's what I need. That's what I need to install. It helps the roofer, helps the sider, helps everybody understand how they're going to vent the attic. All right. All right. I will bring up Amy.
Oh, by the way, and that is also you calculate the free, depending upon how you vent it or what ventilation you use if there's a free area also that you apply to it. But it's pretty easy. You just got to find it in the code. First of all, I want everybody to just pat yourselves on the back. I was amazed this year on all the tremendous effort, the attention to detail, and I just really want to congratulate all of you. Your presentations were phenomenal, and just thank you very much. It's an honor to be judging you. So thank you. I think you heard me talk a lot about team. Are you optimizing the team? Every team has different people in it, different personalities, right? different strengths and different weaknesses. In many instances, those weaknesses can be turned into strength by what you learn and work with other team members. But everybody's going to see something different. Everybody's going to have a different perspective. And so if you work as a team, you can optimize the project, because none of you by yourselves could have completed any of this by yourself. I've used the term divide and conquer, and I really mean that. But it's also, my favorite thing, which I've never seen before, is on the drawings, you have drawn by and you have checked by. And I saw in multiple drawings, checked by, checker. Well, all I know is, do you guys all have checkers on your team? Because I didn't get introduced to very many of them. So that was the name of the checked by, was checker. But they were missing. They didn't show up today, that's for sure. So please work together. And I know, just again, you can work stronger together and try new things. That's one thing I really enjoy also watching, is really challenge yourselves. So you heard me talk a lot about codes. I'm not going to go into a whole lot about codes because you heard way too much from me. I just want to I've been bringing this up because this is the reality of our business, is that codes are very important. So there's things like the seismic requirements of a D2. There's the wind speed of 130. These all affect the materials you choose. It affects the lead time on schedules. It affects inspections. It affects everything, and cost. So it's just not about getting on the drawings, but working again as a team, and it's the reality of our future. So I'm not going to talk any more about codes, but I brought somebody very special and an honored guest. I'd like to introduce Bill Bryant. He is the director of the International Code Council, and he's going to talk about the importance of code, so you don't have to hear from me keep on babbling.
Thank you. You know, I got today, my name is Bill Bryant. I'm the building official of Annapolis, Maryland. We have 535 linear miles of waterfront property and floodplain properties. We've got 411 square miles of property. We do approximately 126,000 inspections a year for buildings, plumbing, electrical, mechanical. I sat here today and I watched 3 or 4 presentations, and all of you, to the best of my heart, went back to the code to look at what's going on. What are the minimum requirements? I'm the president of the International Code Council. We are the people who develop the codes across the United States to be equivalent. So you build in South Carolina, you'll build in Ohio, you build in Michigan, you build in Pennsylvania. The basic requirements are the same. The requirements for seismic, the requirements for floods, the requirements for winds are all taken into account, but it's the same similar process. What I saw here today was phenomenal. How many people we have from Pennsylvania? I know some of you guys have gone through our high school technical training program. It's a wonderful thing. What I also saw today was I saw the next future generation coming into this construction industry, be it on the construction side, be it on the inspection side, be it on the enforcement side. You guys and gals are going to be the leaders of these organizations in the next 5 to 10 years. I've been involved in this business for about 42 years. I started out as a shop teacher. How many shop teachers do I have here? I was one of those guys. I went from teaching school to working for a modular company that had 6 plants in the United States. We had to know exact stud sizes to the 1/8 of an inch. We had to know angles on those. We had to do all those calculations. Very similar to what you did. We created a bill of materials, we costed out the bill of materials, and we made sure that unit ran down an assembly line. Once it got to the assembly line, then it got moved to the outside. That's where I got my code knowledge started, in the same thing that I saw today. You're all to be commended. I think you've done an excellent job. You have a brilliant future ahead of you. Don't lose it. Keep it going. Make sure you stay with it, because you're going to be the next leaders. Thank you to all of you.
All right. So honestly, I'm not going to take a lot of your time. I just want to say how proud I am of all of you, and you should be proud of yourselves. You all did a fabulous job. Over the past 5 years that I've been judging the competition, continually every year I see improvement from teams year after year. Honestly, it makes me just more and more excited for the future of our industry. There was a period there during the recession where it was difficult to get really good talent because the home building industry was losing good talent to other industries just because there weren't jobs available. So, I'm excited to see that rebound back into our industry and getting really good talent. And you guys represent that talent, and I really, really am excited for our future. A couple quick things to go over in terms of just the proposals that you guys put through. The main thing that we were looking for is consistency. Consistency across the three ideas that we were looking at, the plans, the estimate, and the schedule. They all needed to be cohesive, work together, tell the story, tell the same story. Not every single time someone might have a different idea on how to build a particular assembly. And that's okay, that's great, but we need to reflect that consistently across the board. In terms of the plans themselves, we need to make sure, the question I would always ask myself, can I build from these plans? If I handed this set of blueprints to a framer, can he frame this exactly how I want it to be framed? If I hand it to a trim carpenter, can this person trim it exactly the way that I want it? If you can't answer yes to that, then they can't answer yes to that. So make sure your details are exactly what you want to be built. In the estimate, a lot of teams, this is probably the biggest improvement that I've seen year over year. We like to see things categorized by category, by trade. The CSI format that's a lot of you are taught is used in commercial construction, not as much in residential construction. Matter of fact, I've never seen it in residential construction. We need things broken up by trade. So I want to be able to take your framing material list, exactly how you have it in the book, take that to a lumber supplier, hand that to him, he'll deliver that material, and if that material that he dropped is enough to build the house, then great. If not great. So just keep those things in mind. Overall, fantastic job. You should really be proud of yourselves. I look forward to tomorrow night to celebrate with every single one of you. Congratulations, and I look forward to years to come.
Great job, guys. I'm a first-year judge, Eric from St. Louis, Consort Homes. I'm a field manager. So, like I said, this was very difficult to judge. A lot of close competition. So, I believe he touched on plans and estimate. I'm going to touch on schedule a little bit. So, just keep in mind to keep your homeowner involved. Your pre-constructions, your pre-drywalls, your final walks. Make sure you leave time after your final walk to do a punch list item and touch up paint, touch up clean. You want that house to look pristine when you turn it over. So make sure you're leaving enough time for everybody, for the trades to do their work. So you're not overlapping too much. I mean, there are trades that you want to put in the house together, but you want to make sure that everybody kind of has their day. So I'm just, as far as that, I think one thing, as far as the numbers, so you're going to get your score sheets, so don't get hung up on the numbers, correct? Because all of us graded a little bit different. So you're going to see, you might see your score as a 60 or 70. Don't take it into account as far as 90s and A. So just, like I said, on that account. So other than that, I just want to talk just a couple life lessons that helped me along the way. Be flexible, adaptive. I started out as a field manager in 2005. After 2 years, I went in the office and worked as an estimator. I went back out in the field. Then I went in and did permitting and scheduling. Then I went back out in the field and did resource planning. And then I actually back out in the field again. So just, you want to broaden your horizons. I mean, if you have an opportunity to take something in another section, I mean, I feel that it may be more marketable and valuable across the board. So don't be afraid to make mistakes. You're going to make them. First 3 months, the person I was working with went on vacation. We had one that I made a call, and we ended up digging up a sewer, and I ripped the guy's electric out of the house and had to put him in a hotel and wanted to quit and called my mom, but I stuck with it, and I'm still here today. So you're going to make mistakes. It's going to happen. Just stick through it. Manage how you want to be managed. I've worked with guys who are using cuss words and riding guys hard. You're going to find your management style. So that's not mine. I want to manage. I would like to manage how I want to be managed. So never say that's not my job. That's going to be a job killer right there. Always make sure, like I said, you're part of the team and you do what you need to do. So, and then just that home work-life balance. So you're going to be a point in your career when you have to keep those both in mind. So right now you're young, you're going to have families at some point. So just, like I said, make sure you keep that balance. That's all I got.
Okay. I want to personally thank True Homes for putting this all together, for being our host on this. Thank you very much. It was a phenomenal plan in a great neighborhood with a new zoning area. It's really a lot of fun to go around when we do these competitions, go around different areas of the country and learn new ways of building and new type of soil conditions, new foundation system, and that's what it's all about. Go out of your comfort zone. I bid this project from scratch like you did. That's my binder right there. So I know exactly what you went through. I know exactly how many studs it's going to take to build this job. The three-ring binders, please, please. The three-ring binders, can't stress enough, it's you, it's your reflection. Be very professional. And I'm going to pick on a couple teams here. That is a dynamite first page. That one right there. I got another one here, and I already warned this team I'm going to pick on them because I was blown away by how they carried it through. And can you guess which team this is? Where they're from? Hawaii. What they did is they took this logo and they put it on every single page throughout their whole packet. When we digest these plans, we open them up, we lay everything out, and some of the pages, you don't have your name on it, your school name, the project name on it. I had to put them all back together and put them in a binder. So we ask you guys on every single page, the plans, the bid sheet, and your estimate. Put your school name, a logo on it, and the project name on it so we can find it. When you're in the industry, you'll be juggling 4 or 5 projects around during the day. You're going to open it up, spread it out, put it back together. It might get mixed in with another project. You want to be able to put them on the right one. Title blocks on every page with your school name. We keep on telling you that every year. This year we gave out additional information. We said, here's where the building code is. For the high schools, we gave out even more information, trying to make a job a little bit easier. And I hope it worked out for the high schools. We'll be talking to you about that a little bit later. They stressed down already, do not go uniformat. Price it out by subcontractor. When I get these jobs, I'll bid it out 2 or 3 subcontractors. I want to compare apples for apples, put them in their category, identical to what a lot of you guys have been doing. But I want to compare apples for apples for them and not by section or lots. Let's see. Okay, the big thing is what you're trying to do with True Homes, and every single year, you're trying to win that company's bid to mimic them. Do not alter their plans, specifications, or any other things. If you do, price them out as a separate option with the profit on each one so they can give it to the real estate agents and they go, okay, this is my base price. I want these options and here's my new price with all the new totals on it. And that's how we do it in our industry. So make sure you mimic the company itself. Bonus room alternative was the alternate this year. On the alternate, there was not a lot of teams that finished. You gave me the total, what it's going to cost more, but I want to see the real estate commissions on it. I want to see the profit margin on it. And a lot of you caught it, is you put the building permit increase price in on it. So a lot of you guys did that work. It took me more hours this year than I ever have to digest these jobs. Why? They're so good. So thank you very much for such a great job that you all did.
Oh, back to me. Mic's a little low now. Sorry. Once again, thank you everybody who competed this year. This was truly phenomenal. We're so proud of each and every one of you. Closing remarks, I guess, are just thank you. Thank you for letting me be a part of this. Thank you for coming to this, and this was absolutely awesome.
There's any questions?
Oh yeah, questions. Forgot.
What were your lot costs?
It was given $60K. That was our lot.
What are your development costs on that lot?
This lot, which was a purchase lot. So this was a master plan community that we buy lots into. True Homes as a company does have a development side, but this isn't one of those communities. Anybody else? What's that? Well, it's a little hard to predict the weather, but what we try to do is in our I'm going to say kind of in our template, we just have gates. We call them gates. Whether it's framing or foundation, we have certain milestones we want to try to get to, and just be within conformance, right? So we're trying to be within a few days of that schedule. So we build in rain days more on the front. For instance, so it takes us 20 days to put in a foundation, right? So that's our foundation buffer time. So we know that from the time we get permit, the foundation has to be complete within that first 20 days. It doesn't take 20 days to put in a slab, it just takes 20 days to get it scheduled and installed. So we take that first 20 days, there's buffer and rain days built into there, and then we're typically 30 days after frame start, after the foundation's in the ground. And then that's when the clock really starts. That's when we really start pushing hard. But we use that first time to get slab in the ground and start going vertical as the basically two first major milestones. After that, we get through framing inspection. Berkeley, you also saw that we have sheathing inspection, strapping inspection. We have much more inspections. We get through all those. Installation's the next big date. After that, you can pretty much count down on a calendar how fast a house can go together. There's very little delays after the house is insulated that will cause you to go off schedule. As a professional, I will say there is no reason for a house to go off schedule. It just shouldn't. And you should be able to manage your schedule so that won't ever happen. But that's your marker. Anybody else?
I had two quick questions. The price that you said that you came in at 197, is that correct?
That's our cost.
Oh.
That was our budget.
It was your budget, and you're on 197, and then you sell it for approximately 300, so
Yep.
it's a nice little profit. That was also with the bonus room, correct?
Yes, that was with the bonus.
So I did an estimate off of some of the numbers that I had been giving, so it's approximately, the cost of the bonus room was about 10,000, does that sound about right? 12,000,
Yep,
somewhere in that range?
That's right on. You're right on.
Okay, so with that, so that's something else to keep in mind on your price that you're selling these for too, because it should really be like almost 20,000. I mean, just in general, if you take out the bonus
Yeah,
room, is that
absolutely.
correct?
So here's what we asked you guys to do. We asked you guys to give us the elevation that basically included the bonus room, right? But don't finish it. That was the alternate. The alternate was to finish the space. So we sell that option, $12,000 option. We sell that as 4-foot garage extension, plus the modifications to put the 4-foot heel on, to finish the space, to do all that. That's where that money really comes from. Really what I should have seen in all of our packets was really about a $3,500 ad for sheetrock, $500 ad for trusses, and a little bit of trim and paint. And that's about
Actually,
it.
it's the bathroom.
Oh, yeah.
How
no,
much
the
is that going to
bathroom.
cost? A good,
Yeah,
what,
yeah.
five
I mean,
thousand?
$6,000 would have been covered to finish the space. I mean, it shouldn't have cost that, but we knew that going into it. What we didn't want you guys to go do is to go design 2 separate elevations, right? But we knew most of you guys were going to go develop 2 models. We knew you guys were going to go and develop 2 different floor plans. But I didn't want to compound the issue with siding and roofing and everything else. I wanted to keep that as constant as I could.
And my second question was in regard to True Homes is an Energy Star. All these homes are Energy Star homes, is that correct, with HERS rating? And there's inspections and a lot of other things. And then there's also a blower door test, which is not required by 2009 IECC.
Yep.
That's the International Energy Conservation Code. But you go ahead and you choose to do that because you're a green builder, sustainable builder. I believe your average HERS rating is around 79, is that correct?
That seems
for
about
all your
right.
homes?
It's above 75, I believe, in most
So
places.
you see a value in Energy Star, and how does that affect the construction of the home and schedule?
Well, so here's what Energy Star really does for us. One, when we can provide the blower door testing, we kind of ensure the duct leakage tests and all of those tests are, the house passes, right? We're not going to have any long-term issues. We're not handing over a house to a client that is, horribly inefficient. Their HVAC can't keep up. We're really ensuring that the how we have designed the air conditioning and how we've insulated the home meets the requirements. Because honestly, neighbors talk, and we build this house a lot. And so if your energy bill is $250 a month and the guy down the street is $300 a month, he's going to call us. It happens. Why do I pay more? And then it's this, well, do you keep the lights on? What are you doing? Honestly, we just know that the house is better, is built more consistently if we can add that test. And it's just honestly, a nice selling feature that doesn't cost a whole lot.
And just on that note, again, going back to codes, I have to say it. In 2009, it was not required. In 2015, it is required, the blower door test. So you also have differences in, and a little extra cost there, Bill, maybe just between 2009 and 2015. But this will be a reality also of the future. So, keep that in mind, and I did want to make a point, and thank you for explaining its value too. Thanks.
Yeah, I mean, understand, building codes are the minimum. You don't base your company off minimum standards. I mean, our floors aren't designed to code minimum. Our beams aren't designed to code minimum. We go above and beyond just for really the livability of these homes, right? I mean, you don't want to go on a second floor and have it bounce. You don't want to walk through your dining room on a crawl space and have your china rattle in your cabinets. I mean, code minimum is just the point of entry. That's not where your business should be built on. Your business should be built on your standards and your practices. Code is just there to back you up. The bonus room? We use a roof truss. Amy, close your ears. So it is a clear span, front to back, 60-foot roof truss. We don't do any interior bearing. I know you're shocked at that. I see your shocked face. Honestly, we use 2x6, 2x8 bottom cords to clear span rather than putting an interior footer in. When you put an interior footer in a zone that is high seismic or high wind, you're also introducing bolts. You're introducing 16-inch on center stud. You're introducing a bunch of things. Rather than you can actually transfer loads easier through the truss system down to the exterior walls a little bit cheaper and a little more consistent. We find that's with our truss company, who's local in Charlotte. They actually ship to all of our markets. We just like working with them and working through the design of the home. We find it's more efficient that way. But that's our decision.
And on that note, real quick, what you'll find is that if you're in a more northern climate, not 3A, and you have more fluctuations between, winters and summers, what you will get is more movement of those trusses if there is not intermediate bearing at 65 feet of length. So where
Yeah.
you are, it's probably not
Yeah.
it's not necessary for cracking. But if you do have those temperature fluctuations, it's something to keep in mind.
And I can attest to that because a homeowner just texted me that I have truss uplift right here.
It
So
happens.
That's what that is when your ceiling pulls away from your wall a little bit. So.
But there are drywall clips and there's truss clips and other ways around that too. So just keep that in mind, but that'll be one of the biggest callback items, right?
Hey, thank you for saying, I was getting ready to say that, not to contradict you, but it's, there's different ways to handle uplift. There's, like I said when I was talking, there's a million ways to skin a cat here. So don't limit yourself to what you've always seen. Go out there and try to experience new things and try new techniques.
That's right. With the people in this room, there are building science programs out there, a lot at four-unit universities that you can kind of build upon your experience. They're great programs, man. They're so much fun to get into, the science, the guts of why we do certain things. They're awesome. So if you ever have an interest, if this really kind of piques your interest, look into those programs. They're really good. Anybody else? Yes, sir. Okay, so the expansive soil, I actually went back and I read, because you brought that up, and there were a couple other teams that really brought up expansive soils, right? My career, I was lucky enough to, or unlucky enough, I guess, to build in Texas, where real expensive soils really kind of happen, right? And the recommendation in the grading, or in the earthwork or earth report, was shallow grade footers. So what we would do, and what we've done normally, is we would bring in about 6 inches of compacted fill, bring it up above, and then all of that, the groundwater, all of the compacted, all of the clay that you're seeing is about 2 feet down, and we just don't see any heaving in the markets like that. So the heaving that you see in like Texas or you guys in Hawaii, that just isn't prevalent in the coast. In Charleston and the Wilmington coastal, it's just not something we normally see. Groundwater is a problem, so we don't really want to go down. We typically want to build the foundations right on top. Does that answer your question? Nope, not at all. Now, I will say that in a normal event, they will not shift around. Because we're in a D0 or D sub 1, soils like what we build on liquefy. They can liquefy. And when that happens, when an earthquake happens, then you got problems. But that's an act of God, right? We're not going to design footers that are going to kind of withstand that. That's something way outside of our scope.
So one thing to keep in mind with that too is usually you're going to have a soils engineer come and check every single hole.
Yeah.
So it's kind of their responsibility to come, because I've got one neighborhood where one street we just dug and it's red clay, and you go right across the street and it was black dirt, and it just depended on. I was talking to the guy, my developer, and he's like, yeah, the glacier turned here and this is what it did, and then we've got rock in the front. So like I said, that's not my expertise. I'm relying on that soils engineer to come give me his recommendation and go from there.
And we do soil footer testing on all of our, so they come out there and they do the density testing on all our footers. So we ensure that, the house is properly, kind of anchored to the ground. We're not leaving anything really up to chance on that. Any other questions? I can do this all day, so I'm good. All right, and I think that's it. Thank you, everybody, and appreciate the time.